Good evening, morning, or nighttime, or afternoon, depending on where you are in the world. We are here for RP Series Season 9, Round 2 at Silverstone. A track absolutely synonymous with motor racing in the UK. It's up there with the great circuits of, of the world, really, alongside Spa, Brands Hatch, the Nürburgring, and all of those that I could name. The list is really exhaustive as you go through. This is round 2 of Season 9 at Silverstone. It is November 5th, so happy Guy Fawkes night if you observe it in your country. I know us from the UK who will be watching the stream do observe it. This is round 2. And then in 2 weeks' time, after this race is done and dusted, the series will continue at Mount Panorama. But for now, we turn our sights to what is a very, very wet Silverstone circuit, as we are just coming up to the end of practice. And it looks like the weather isn't going to dry up for the drivers, which is definitely going to be something that they will need to contend with. The GT3 cars obviously having traction control and ABS, which will help them out. However, sometimes you will just hit that patch of water and the car will aquaplane you off into the barrier or into the runoff, which thankfully Silverstone is very, very forgiving with. There's a lot of runoff everywhere. It needs it for its grade 1 status. And today, I think, is going to be no different with the circuit, with the track, and with the conditions that our drivers are having to contend with. We have got very good drivers here in the RP series, but as they do say, the rain does separate the good drivers from the best drivers. If you can master the rain, you can master anything. So Season 9 has seen some big changes come in. First and foremost, the one that everyone would have noticed already is the just really removal of the GT4 class, which I think for some drivers might be a little bit of a moment where they sit there and go, whew. But for others, especially those that love the GT4s, myself included, they always did cause fun. It will be something that we will miss sorely, but hopefully this will mean the GT3 action can be even more fierce in this season and into future seasons as well. I am Huski, and I will be the voice you will hear throughout the race today. And I think between me and you, and everyone else watching the stream as well, this is going to be a very, very entertaining run as well. We are just coming up to the end of the practice session. A minute left in the practice. The drivers getting their final opportunity to dial in the car setup, dial in the traction control and ABS as well. And it's really going to be something of a race today, I do feel. I mean, looking at the practice times themselves, you can see Kovacs and Thomas Jack, two drivers we are used to seeing fighting up near the front together, are separated by under a tenth, 0.06 seconds. That is the edge of a bumper in distance. Like, it's something that I can't even really imagine. If you put two cars together at that gap would be tiny. But you can see cars jumping up and down in the pit lane, getting their final setup options in, the final changes, tyre pressures clearly being the most important thing to get right with ACC's new system of a tyre window. So some drivers might be electing to go softer, some drivers might be electing to go harder. They have pros and cons, as we see Mantas Leonis there just giving the car a little bit of a left and right, just to have a look and see where about the limit is, where the car will just let go and throw you off into a barrier. And then we also have Daniel Scott, who's finishing a lap. From what I can see, it does look like it is an invalid lap. However, it is an extra lap where he can get a bit more information about the car, a bit more information about how the track's going, which for drivers is one of the most important things, especially on a wet track. having an idea of where the biggest puddles are, where your riskiest corners are, and where the car is most happy and most planted to go through on, we'll say, a quote-unquote normal line, but more often than not, a quote-unquote as close to dry line as you possibly can get. I will also be intermittently reading the chat, so make sure you put your messages in there. I will hopefully get to them. If I don't, and I do apologize, but I will be checking in more often than not to see what our viewers are saying about the racing. So, we're now popping into the qualifying session. 15 minutes the drivers get to set their best lap. And let's jump on board with Martin Kovacs, the 861 car. The Pink Pig Porsche for his outlap. And you can see already, you see there, the car hit the puddle and just aquaplaned itself out into the grass at Maggots and Beckett's. And you can just see he's fighting it all the way round. So the water and the track condition clearly not being the best of things for drivers, for cars. And it is just something that you're going to have to get used to as a driver. I know myself, if I'm having to race in wet conditions, it can be very, very difficult just to get a feel for the car, especially as the track condition is going to look like it will change. We're currently on a wet track. This thing, at least looking at the weather forecast, will change to flooded throughout the session. So it's the time really to get yourself out of the pits and set yourself a banker lap in. Obviously waiting might be better off if you can get some clean air, but with the rain forecast to get heavier, it's something that you're going to want to get your lap done as quick as possible. And I mean, yeah, we can see pretty much everybody, minus a couple drivers, are out already to set their banker lap in. So, the interesting part about the Silverstone circuit in the GT configuration, it is the same road layout as the Grand Prix configuration everyone knows and loves from other high-level racing events, but the GT config in ACC uses the old pit lanes, so this really is the final corner as you run up to the start-finish line. And you'll be coming into turn 1 about halfway around the lap as if you were using the full layout. Well, the full layout with the original pits. So, through turn 1 you can just see, look at the wheel there. He is just fighting that car through the corner. And now into Maggots and Beckett's. It is wet and some of the curves are a bit more forgiving through here. You'll know from the Silverstone Endurance, I think over a year ago now, the second curve through Maggots and Beckett's was dubbed that curve, as it was the curve that claimed many, many cars throughout the racing on that, we'll say, fateful day, has now through what we have dubbed in racing cars as the mountain section. You get a little bit of up, and then you can see the track does start to come down a little bit. Silverstone obviously built on the old RAF base that was here many, many years ago. There were still RAF planes and parts hanging about throughout Silverstone's lifetime. I remember a fun story that someone told me in my real world motorsport experience of him red flagging a Formula 1 race by accident. And they still had planes with the wings taken off. Avoiding action there. I'm not too sure who that was. That was Tiggy. Let us have a look, shall we, if we can see what happened. And the car, yeah, it's just gone from under him there. It's spun round. He's going backwards to try and get as far away and off the racing line. And the 881 car of Kovacs and Thomas Jack having to avoid the stricken McLaren of Aaron Tiggy. That is something that he would not have wanted to see. And Gottlieb as well has gone round. What has happened here to Gottlieb? This is in turn 1 of this layout. He seems to have got through that all right. No, the car, he hit the rear wheel on the curb, maybe a bit too early on the power, And the curb has just spat him back off into the pit lane. At least that is a safer place to go, really. So we will have to see how these curbs sort the drivers out throughout the racing. Thomas Jack setting the first banker lap of his session, a 2:10.8, just under 7/10 ahead of Kovacs. And they were really nose to tail throughout the entirety of practice. Remember, that gap was under a tenth, just over half a tenth, really. But I think these two are going to be very, very interesting to see how it goes, especially with the new custom BOP. As Chris Luke there, you just saw in the background, got a bit loose on the exit of Beckett's. So that will be something that he will want to shake off as quick as possible and just make sure that he can get himself straight back into the action. And a driver that we are used to seeing a stalwart of RP series here, Pierre Moreno, the 922 Porsche, the Spectre Racing machine here, previous champion of the RP series, still driving to this day. Normally I expect to see a good outing from Pierre Moreno. He's shown throughout, you know, the years that I've commentated RP series and watched RP series as well, that he is a very, very capable driver, capable of wins and championships, capable of putting up a defense and a fight as well, which really is something that you want to see as often as possible as a driver, is being able to fight the car ahead, but also, if you are ahead of the car ahead, to fight him when he's behind as well. Always something that you want to make sure you can do. You need to both attack and defend to be in with a chance of winning a title. And looking back at the grid, Matthew Marlowe, the 549 Flyboys car, the Porsche as well, the American flagged Porsche, has come into P2, 2.8 seconds, but then Kovacs has taken it, and then Thomas Jack takes the provisional pole as well with a 208.927. That's put him 0.285 ahead of Kovacs. And then Robin Moe jumped up into third and then was taken by Luanaz in the McLaren. So you can see they are getting quite tight together as well. As already Matthew Marlowe is about 4 tenths up as he heads through what is the Formula 1 Turn 1 and Turn 2 into what is one of the most technical circuits, technical sectors of this track, especially in the wet. You've got the right-hander into the left-hander, really a double left-hander, because you have to straighten the wheel back up. You get a little bit of a straight, and then you get the left-hander onto the Brooklyn Straight, named for the hotel that is just on the left of the screen there. You can't see it, but it is just a little bit away from the circuit. If you're ever staying a night there of a race weekend, you don't even have to get trackside. You just stand out on your balcony and you get a view into Brooklands, which is obviously something that you would love to see. But it looks like, from my timing screen, Marlowe is just about improving. Just is going to be on a knife edge. He comes through a 211.2, so that is not going to be enough for him. Thomas Jack, however, just under a second up on his Delta already. And this is something that we always see from Thomas Jack. He gets more and more comfortable in the car as the session goes on. He manages to get those times down and down and down and down. And he's going to want those times to come even further down, really, with Kovacs having been that tight in practice with him. Getting pole position would probably be a good idea. However, I think pole position will put you on the outside of the circuit for the rolling start into turn 1, so you will maybe lose the position off of turn 1, but then you want to keep the nose in as Thomas Jack comes across the line. 207.9. And something that I'd say we are surprised about, but really, having watched Pierre Moreno for this many seasons, he is just under 1.1 up on his Delta. He's lost a little bit of time coming out of the final corner. Let's have a look now as he heads across the line. Is he going to improve? He does. He goes P2 at 208.955, just over a second behind Thomas Jack, which I'm sure Tom will be sat there on track looking at his deltas and going, whew, that's something that is very, very nice to see for him. And Simon Beeg, there, having moved into P3, a 208.9, so only three drivers sub the 209 of Thomas Jack, Pierre Moreno and Beeg. However, it looks like Kovacs is going to improve out of the 209s as well. Already 6 tenths up. Schoblem there getting out of the way for the 861 Porsche as they head through the aforementioned mountain section into the chicane, which would be the final chicane on the regular Grand Prix layout, as we will say. And then through to Sir Lewis Hamilton straight. Let's have a look then. How is it going to how is he going to do? I mean, he's got 1.3 seconds to catch up to pole position, but a tiny, tiny amount, about 3/10 to catch up to P2 Pierre Moreno. So he could really be looking at a front row seat into turn 1 on P2, which could even be the more appealing line. As we said earlier, you get the run into turn 1 on the inside, and then you get the run into turn 2 on the outside, and as you go through Maggots and Beckett's, you sort of go inside, outside, inside. So let's have a look round the final corner. Is it going to be enough to take Thomas Jack off the top spot? It is indeed. A 207.742, knocking Thomas Jack down by 1/10 and a half. So I think what we said about the front row of the grid and the front 2 runners in practice are going to have a spicy race. That is very true. I mean, it's not even just the case of the front of the grid. If you look down the timing tower, you can see how many drivers are so close to each other as well. I mean, 5th through to about 12th within a second of each other on Delta, which is something that will always give us, as we would say, a very, very spicy, very, very entertaining race. And I'm sure it's going to be one of those races that we're going to all sit there and go, whew, with some moves, some thrills, some spills, all the hallmarks we're used to on the RP series, and all the hallmarks that make us love this championship. As someone is deciding to go for a bit of a rally there. That's not Mats Leenham. What has happened to Mats Leenham? Ooh. I'm not 100% sure. Has he just turned in too early and just cut around the corner? Not sure. That was a bit of a strange one. Nicholas Vangeli there, having turned the car around. What's happened to Nicholas? We'll have a look here through the mountain section at Stowe. Bit of net code there. I love how he's got the learner plate on the back of the car. That is a really, 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 really funny touch. Into the chicane. Is he just taking it too hot? He has. And it's just hit the car into the gravel trap. Maybe has come on a bit aggressively there ahead of the Ferrari, but all in all, the car's still okay. And looking back at the provisional pole sitter, 207.747 is the time to beat. No one has yet improved. However, Thomas Jack is looking about a 1/10 and a half up through Maggots and Beckett, so that will definitely sorry, that will definitely be something that he would want to see. Pierre Moreno on an outlap again by the look of it as well, so I'm not sure if he'll get another lap through. He might, but it will be tight. But he'd have 1.2 seconds to gain to climb up to that pole position, which will definitely be something that he will want to want to close as much as possible because he's looking very, very tight to 4th and 5th, Simon Bigg and Yamik Smith, the 95 Mercedes and the 107 Bentley, respectively. So, as always in the RP series, the drivers are separated into classes. You can see denoted by the different coloured number plates on the timing tower. You've got the Platinum class, which is the white background with black number. These are quote-unquote the fastest drivers. It is based on a hot stint that the drivers submit with their joining, their sign-up. You then have the Silver class, the grey background with white number, and then you have the Bronze class, the red background with black number. This is done entirely so then there is 3 championships and all drivers are sorted into a class and into a championship and into a fight where they will be with people who are on relatively the same pace as them. And as I was giving that spiel, Thomas Jack comes across the line at 207.6, so putting Kovacs 1/10 down. Let's have a look. Will he improve? No, he doesn't, at 207.852. So that puts Thomas Jack on provisional pole at this current moment in time. Pierre Moreno and Simon Bigg will be looking to maybe take the Kovacs off, or maybe knock each other off for the 3rd starting spot on the grid. Pierre Moreno got 1.3 seconds. Simon Bigg has pitted in, so we'll need to see, can Pierre Moreno take Bigg down? No, he can't. I don't think that's going to have helped him at all. That little slide there has looked to cost him 6/10, and another slide as well into the pit lane. Pierre Moreno will have to settle for provisional 4th place at this moment in time, and that is definitely not something he would have wanted to see. And now Mantas Linaz here, the McLaren, he's got a 10th to catch Leenham, just under 3/10 to catch Ushaizen, sorry, through the final corner. He's apparently 1.1 up, so he could even jump up to P7, P8 if he can hold it. Let's have a look. Round the final corner, where is he going to come out? The 111 LIU car, and across the line he goes up to P5. What a lap there from the McLaren driver. Jumped up to P5, putting himself right in that contention. And the track is now even wetter than qualifying. The drivers, I'm sure, are all going to be sat there going, oh dear. And you can just see how hard that rain is coming down, how much the water is pooling on the gravel trap as well. This, I think, is going to be a very, very interesting start of the race. I can't even really put my finger on what's going to happen. You never know with the start of the race, especially in the wet, in the dry as well. But in the wet, you normally don't know anyway. So we will need to see. The track is fully flooded. We are just waiting for the 1 hour race to start now, with the drivers getting ready, final setup adjustments in, getting their pit strategy set as well. Oh, it's gonna be an interesting one, I feel. But as we have a look at our starting grid, Thomas Jack lines up on pole position in Platinum class, followed by Kovacs in 2nd, Bigg in 3rd, Mo in 4th, 5th is Luanaz, and 6th is Pierre Moreno. Then from 7th down in Platinum specifically, we have Yamik Smith, Marlowe and Licht. Then the 2 front-running silver cars of Uderdorp and Ushaizen in 10th and 11th respectively. Mats Leenham starting in 12th, the 666 Platinum McLaren, so he's going to have to fight through the front-running silver cars to get up to his class. Then in 13th, 14th and 15th we have Benke, Andrews and Woolrat, all silver cars. And then in 16th is Tiggy, the number 16 McLaren. Then 17th is our front-running bronze driver in Dizon, the 31 Porsche, followed by Daniel Scott, Jacob Alacia and Ashton. in 18th, 19th and 20th. Gottlieb in 21st. Olsen 22nd. Jochel in 23rd. 24th is Schoblam. 25th is Toby Long. 26th is Curtis. 27th is Akil. 28th is Nicholas Van Gelue. And 29th, and rounding off the grid, is Baker. So this is going to be a very, very interesting start of the race. Remember, with GT racing, it is a single lap rolling start. So they'll do one lap and then a rolling start to get us underway. I don't even really know where to put my money, really, as Thomas Jack gets us underway. If you look on the rear wing, you can just see how much spray and how much water there is on that car. It is going to be one of those races, I think, where anything can happen at any point, and you see all of the cars just moving their way down. Olderdorp there and Ushheisen in the background. You can see the two Lamborghinis. Those are first and second, respectively, in the silver class as well. So I'm sure they're going to give us some very, very entertaining racing today. So a 29-car grid split across the three classes. Three races, more or less, really, to keep on top of. Since you gain championship points on your class finish, not on your overall. I'm running over every cable that is currently in my room. My phone charger, my headphone cable. If I had any more cables to run over, I'm pretty sure that I would be running them over at this point. So, with the race about to be underway, as we're heading through the end of the first corner of the F1 layout, it will be Thomas Jack leading Kovacs. As they're all just trying to get heat into the tyres and into the brakes, into the everything, really. You need to make sure that your entire car is set up and ready for this. Because driving in the wet, even in these cars that have the traction control, that have the ABS, they don't save you from every situation that you are likely to come across, especially when wet weather racing comes about. So down the Brooklyn Straight, we will see, I mean, you can just see in the background there how many different pairs of headlights there are. Is that a V12 Aston Martin? That looks indeed like a V12 Aston Martin. I think that is the V12 Aston Martin. So, that's a very interesting car to bring to the race. But we'll jump on to the Helicam round the final corner. Now let's have a look, let's have a watch as we get ready to start. There's deep cuts there in the chat just confirming that it is a V12 Aston Martin. Here we go. We're getting ready. The anticipation builds. And with the drop of a hat, it's not that one. We go green at Silverstone for round 2 of the RP series. And what a launch there for Kovacs, already moving out into the lead of the race. Some cars going wide. There's a big crash at the start-finish line. What has happened here? We will have a look as the replay is sending us through the final corner. I'm not 100% sure what has happened to these drivers. We will see. We'll get to watch. We're looking at Nyokel, the number 269 Ferrari, just next to the Bentley, as you can see on your screen. Round the final corner for the green flag. And here's where they go green. They all get a way start. There's a crash at the front. Oh, it's just one of those where you just can't really tell. Many cars involved in that one. That is going to be something that none of the drivers would have wanted to see at all. Especially at the start of the race. But who's that further down the order? That is Kovacs in that position. What has happened to Kovacs there? He's dropped down to can't even really tell what position that is. And then, oh, there's contact between the V12 Aston and Kovacs as well. It looks like the Aston didn't want to stop into the corner. That has been the start I think a lot of us were expecting in the flooded condition. But that is one that not a lot of drivers would have wanted to see at all. Now we get a look at Liuk chasing down the rear end of the Aston. He's looking down the inside. The Aston stopping. Oh, around goes the Aston Martin as well. Off of the front end of Jacob Alacia. It looked like that Mercedes didn't want to stop. And just collected the Aston on the way through as well. That has been a start and a half as we just get a look there of all the drivers getting a little bit close and a little bit off the circuit into the start of the race. But Thomas Jack leads off of Marlowe, and Thomas Jack has already pulled a 4.8, almost 5-second gap to the P2 Porsche. As on the rear wing of Jeroen Oderdorp, you can see that Porsche is just so quick on a straight line. He must have got a better exit. Let's have a look into the corner. Oderdorp's going to try and hold it round the outside. But it looks like the Porsche has just managed to get its way through. It has indeed. So that will be Kovacs moving up into P6. And now he'll be chasing out Robin Moe as Thomas Jack there had a yellow flag. I'm not 100% sure what for. I think he might have just gone a bit wide. And Simon Bieg all the way down in 17th, quite far away from his platinum rivals, battling with the number 90 car of Curtis there through the final F1 corner. They're still side by side. Bieg's had to go off the circuit a little bit, but he's got the move done. He didn't really have many more places to go as Pierre Moreno as well. Round goes Laranas. Keeps out the barrier, keeps out the green stuff as well. Once you hit the grass in these conditions, that's it. The car's gone. I'm not 100% sure really what happened there to Laranas. I'm not sure if he got a bit of a touch there from Pierre Moreno. Not quite sure. The replay just cut out beforehand. But that is going to be something that he did not want to see. And now, Frederick Schoblum. He's got his way past Akil, I think that was. And I'm pretty sure that is for the lead of bronze class as well. as Licht has gone around. Oh, big crash there. What has happened to the Porsche? Through Brooklands, you can see the car's a little bit squirrely on the exit. You can just see how much counter steering needed. Let's have a look into Brooklands here. Has the car just gone out from under him through the corner? It has. The car's just gone out from under him. He's sort of stranded in no man's land, and you can see there all the cars getting away past him. And then Simon Big, oh, wrong place, wrong time for the Mercedes. Licht thought he saw the gap there on the exit, but it wasn't to be. And that's Matt's Leadham round as well. Let's have a look at what has happened to Matt's here. Not quite sure. It looks like, though, he's had a bit of a run-in with our good friend Barry R, who lives at the pit wall. And he's just been trying to get the car round and then get the car started up again. I think that might be the end of the day for Matt Leadham there as he heads back to the pit lane. That is not what you would have wanted at this stage in the race. We're only 6 minutes in. And already so much has happened now as we see Benjamin Woolrack fighting Curtis. He is currently P4 in class. I think that is. Yep, P4 in class is Curtis. We see the Emil Free 29. I think that is Ferrari going off there. That is Akil. And now Woolrack is fighting down on the rear end of Olsen as well. So he's got a bit of traffic to get through to get himself back up. Thomas Jack, however, is just sailing away at the minute. Get it? Sailing. 7.5 seconds up on Marlowe. So that is the start I think he would have wanted off of the race as Erdorp 1.8 down on Jürgens Scheisen there, getting, you know, that gap is building. It is Lamborghini versus Lamborghini, car v car, so it all really comes down to setup and driver of who can extract the most out of the Huracan throughout the wet Silverstone circuit. And also now trying to build a gap is Pierre Moreno. He looks to be building that gap to Venke quite fast at a rate of knots, but we need to now jump up to the battle for P2. It is Robin Moe, the number 3 Nissan GTR against Marlowe, and it looks like he's got the move done, but that Porsche is going to be able to come back, I think, through the corners and down the straight as well. We will need to see, as Kovacs has already clawed his way back up to the battle for P2, and then it's going to be quite a run for anyone really to catch up to Thomas Jack. 7.5 seconds, give or take. Now we're going to jump back. You can see Marlowe now having to defend from Kovacs. We'll have a look. Who's going to be more adventurous, let's say, into the chicane? Marlowe goes a bit deep, but manages to cover off the inside. This might be a good defensive move here. If he can close off the inside through the corner onto the Lewis Hamilton straight, he does. So he keeps Kovacs behind him for now anyway. But the more they fight, the more you meet Smith in the 107 Bentley behind. The blue Boatley, as we call it, can capitalize more and more. Kovacs, though, having a quite early look down the inside. Marlowe, however, does shut that door. I'm not sure really if that was a bit late or if that was right on time, but it looked like Kovacs had to jump on the brakes quite early on there, just so that there wasn't contact. Now on the rear wing of the 549 Porsche, let us have a look and see how we go into Brookland. Kovacs again trying, and he is looking about the place, but I don't think that door was open for him. Just a case of capitalizing as much on the exits as possible, and he is right up the bumper of the Flyboys Porsche. As we head in to start another lap. This will be lap 4, I think, and you can just see how loose Kovacs got. But now Yamik Smith will try the move up the inside. Is he going to make it work? They are more or less free wide. He has, and he has got both of them into the first corner, putting himself up to third position. What a move there. And in that scuffle as well, Marlowe had lost 2 positions, letting through Smith and Kovacs at the same time. That was a move that was really well orchestrated there by Yannick Smith from the look of it. He saw that door was open and he got through both of them in that, while also keeping the door open for Kovacs at the same time as well. But we have news of a drive-through penalty for Woolrack, who is actually round. Let us have a look at what's happened here to the HTR car. This is through Maggots and Beckett. The car's just aquaplaned over the curbs. It does bring itself back onto circuit, but he does get away quite well, really, with it. There wasn't any contact, so that is something useful. However, he did manage to pick up a drive-through penalty for that one. And Thomas Jack has lost P1 to Robin Moe. I'm not too sure what's happened there, but from an 8.5 second gap, now down to on the rear end of the Nissan. That, I'm sure, is something that he would not have wanted to happen at all at the start of the race. Have a look, and you can just see how much he is fighting the car through the corner. I mean, look at the slide on the exit there. And Frederick Schoblem actually on the back of, I think that's Licht, actually. Yeah, that is Licht. They are fighting side by side. Pierre Moreno's in the background as well, so he's dropped down a fair bit from his starting position. There's yellow flag. Oh, Marlowe is round. Has he fallen foul of that curb through the first part? Oh, it's dipped onto the grass and dragged him in. But he did manage to get out of it safely and into the gravel trap of safety as well. Now, Thomas Jack on the rear end of Robin Moe through the chicane. Robin Moe gets the inside again and leaves Tom on the outside to dry. That is clearly not what he would have wanted to see at all. Now we see Benke and Andrews there, the 2 silver cars. So this is for P3 in the silver class. The gap between them is half a second between the Real Cheese McLaren and the V12 Performance Aston Martin. But that gap is looking like it is extending out quite a bit. So let's jump back to the battle for the lead now. A three-way fight between Robin Moe in the Nissan, Thomas Jack in the McLaren, and then in the Porsche a little bit further back is Kovacs. So Kovacs and Thomas Jack were the 2 that were fighting tooth and nail, both through practice and through qualifying. And now they're fighting for what is essentially the lead of the race with Robin Moe. Currently for P2 between themselves, but Robin Moe a tiny bit up the road from him. But it looks like that Nissan is just a little bit quicker through the corners. It looks a little bit more stable, as the heavier cars would be in the wet weather. So we'll have to have a look and see how this fight develops between the drivers. Because we're now on the front end of the Porsche. Oh, big slide there for Kovacs. Looked like a big slide there for Thomas Jack as well. just on the exit, 4 tenths, separating P2 from P3, a whole second more or less. Separating Robin Moe from the 2 cars chasing him down. This is the fight we would have wanted to see, and this is the fight we have got. But the more these 2 battle, the more of a gap that Robin Moe will be able to build up. The track state is still flooded, so it is still very, very wet for the drivers, which is clearly something that will be a tough challenge to fight through. And looking at the chat, Kai Sforza is saying that there are big slides even on the straight. There are indeed. That we are still keeping with this battle for the lead. This little 3-car pack. Robin Moe leading on from Thomas Jack and Kovacs. And then a bit further back, you can see the green Huracan of Cookie No Livery Racing Keck, which is currently leading the silver standings, well, the silver race, sorry, at this moment in time as well. So we've got a lot really to look at and a lot to go about. And you can see a few drivers already having taken their pit stops, as denoted by the green box next to their names. I think these will be drivers that were involved in the lap one incident. As you see Nicholas there just moving himself off of the circuit just to let the lead pack through, which is very nice of him. You know, letting this battle rage on and letting us keep an eye on what is happening and letting the battle unfold. As well as Deep Cuts is amused by the fact that I read Jurgens' team name as Cookie No Livery Racing Keck in my standard commentary voice. I mean, that's what it says on the thing, so that's what I'm going to call it. There's now through Stowe for the 8th time round. 7th or 8th time round. We are watching a battle unfold, but we'll need to see just how these 3 manage to fight around with each other, especially in the wet weather, where it looks like the rain is going to get a bit lighter in about 10 minutes time, but in about half an hour's time it's forecast to pick back up as well. So we'll need to have a look and see what will happen, because what will happen will happen. It's now into the tightest sector of the track. You can see the accordion effect happening on the brakes, where Thomas Jack just catches back up to the rear end of Robin Moe, but then Robin Moe gets on the power a bit better. And just the slides that Thomas Jack is getting as well. I mean, let's watch him go through Brooklands and just keep an eye on the steering wheel of the number 13 McLaren. You can see pumping the brakes into the corner. He's actually side by side with Robin Moe. Another snap of oversteer there, and contact between the 2 drivers. Robin Moe's round. He waits up for Kovacs to go through to give the position back, but Kovacs is gonna be there saying thank you very much for that one, because that has now meant that Kovacs gets a 3.3 second gap. Just really gifted to him by that accordion effect we said earlier, as the cars got close together and Thomas Jack just couldn't get the McLaren slowed down in time, and that caused contact between the P1 and P2 car. So Robin Moe now has 3.4 seconds to catch back up to the Porsche. There's the chat again from Ivan Barats. Kovacs says thank you and see ya. I think he would do after that one. He was just following on from Thomas Jack, and then he's just basically been given the lead by the number 13 car. And I think all the cars really in this race are going to be getting well washed with the rain and the puddles. Oh, yellow flag for Udadok there. He's gone round quite spectacularly. What has happened to the Lamborghini? Let us have a look. Oh, the car's just gone out from under him there. That is a very, very interesting one. That has put him down a couple of positions as well. Now, as we were saying, we're going to jump on board with Thomas Jack as he goes through Brooklands, keeping an eye on that steering wheel. Just to watch as he goes through the corner, gets on the throttle, has to throw the wheel to the right-hand side just to keep the car in a straight line, and again throws it to the left all the way through. He is fighting that McLaren tooth and nail to keep it in a straight line. That is... wow, really. That is something that is just... you don't see it that often. Drivers making sure that they can use as little traction control and ABS as humanly possible. Because remember, the higher you have it set, the more intrusive it is. And you want to make sure that it's at the level that you can control it without it basically touching the throttle. Oh, big slide there for Thomas Jack. He did hold it, but that car went sideways onto the grass. That would be a very high point scoring drift in Formula D, but not really here. Now we'll jump back down to the fight for P16, Olsen versus Akil. Olsen second behind, and this is for fourth in class. I'll do just a quick bit of math between the McLaren, the number 6 McLaren, and the 29 of Akil there, the Sky McLaren, and it looks like Akil got a better run through here, and now they'll be side by side into the first corner. Oh, you got to be very careful that the car's washing out wide, and it looks like Akil Olsen has gone round there. Oh, that was not what you would have wanted. You could see the car was going, and then it was gone. So that puts Akil up to P4 in bronze. And now another fight that's happening. This is not for class position. This is for track position. Between Luanaz and Andrews. McLaren versus McLaren. This is something we do love to see in GT racing. Is when cars are like the same car is against the same car. Because then the differences between the manufacturers are null and voided. As it just becomes about the driver and the setup. So let us have a look and see. It is bronze on silver, so it isn't going to be whoever comes out on top of this one won't be gaining any extra points, but will be gaining the extra pride from finishing ahead. This is for P9 overall, and it looks like Andrews is favouring the outside line to get the better run down to turn 1, but the car's washing out wide, and Mantas Luanaz has made the move stick and has managed to cover off the outside into turn 1 to take his regular line as well. So that is something that I'm sure he would have loved to see. And Thomas Jack already back within half a second of the Nissan GTR of Robin Moe. As we're now entering what I call the unofficial pit window. So all drivers must make one mandatory pit stop during the race. A lot of the time that I've commentated RP series, this pit stop is taken between 35 minutes left of the race and 25 minutes left of the race, giving more or less a 10-minute unofficial pit window for drivers. You have some that favour the going short and some that favour the going long. So we will start to see drivers jump into the pit lane as well for tyres and possibly fuel at the same time. There's now this fight between the GTR and the McLaren is back on, and already Kovacs has built a 7-second gap. But we have seen how quickly that can go. As we saw with Thomas Jack at the start of this race, he built a huge gap that then just disappeared in a matter of moments. As I have just noticed that Robin Moe is running a good smile racing livery with the Hatsune Miku design on the side of it. That is about all I know about that, as we have our first driver hitting the pit lane in Olsen. So he's favouring to go short and then go long, so that'll be an interesting one for sure to go through and see what happens. As we've got 34 minutes of this race remaining. And jumping further down the grid as well, here we see Chris Liet right on the rear end of James Andrews as well. This once more isn't a fight for class position, it's just a track position. And then just ahead of him on the road you can see Leonaz just ahead as well, which would be for class position. So Chris Liet will need to fight his way through and get onto the rear end of the silver car currently placed in P6. Two tenths is the gap between the two drivers. Let's have a look as they head through Stowe. It's all going to be a case of who will get the better run out towards the chicane. Might not be close enough for a move yet. No, it's not. However, we will be able to see maybe a move dependent on who gets a better exit out of this corner onto the straight. Keep in mind the slipstream will help the Porsche behind as well. And there could be a move into turn one, but it would be risky. And yep, thinks better of it. Which, smart move really. I think with how the track has been, we've seen a few cars aquaplaning off there throughout the sessions. Tried to see if the door was open, but it just wasn't. As the cheese car is getting support in the chat. James Andrews has the backing of Deep Cuts for the Real Cheese Racing, the 42 McLaren. Let us have a look onto the rear wing. Hard on the brakes. Seeing who is going to come out on top. It looks like Chris gets quite loose on the exit, so that isn't going to do the gap any favours. Thomas Jack also ahead has jumped in the pit lane, so he'll be dropping back quite a bit, but it will mean fingers crossed for him. And I think he'll be thinking this too, that he can get some clean air running while everyone else pits to make the undercut worth it and work for him. As in the chat now, there is actually some fan rivalry happening for James Andrews and for No Big Deal. Chris Lietz there behind. Oh, we're going to start getting the banners out and the flares. And the track has actually gone down to wet as well, so it should be getting faster as we go through the session. But 10 minutes time, the rain is apparently meant to pick back up. 8 tenths is this gap, but the more and more that the gap builds, the more and more the gap to the 111 McLaren ahead that Lietz wants to grab, builds and builds and builds. Currently sat at 2.2 seconds, which is not what you would have wanted to see at all. But we will have a look, we'll have a see, and you can see the gap is coming down. Half a second between the two drivers as the short yellow flag flies. We're on board with Chris Lietz, and oh, big slide there out of the corner, but he is now right up the bumper of the McLaren. Does the McLaren even have a bumper? It doesn't really look like it. Now onto the Brooklands straight. Gap is 6/10 as we head down towards Brooklands. We need to see. Chris Luke had a pretty turbulent start of the race, having that spin at Brooklands earlier on in that crash with Simon Beeg, but he's kept the car going. The car is still running and is still mostly straight. So we'll see. Robin Moe and Marlowe have also headed into the pit lane. So Kovac's electing to go longer, as are a lot of drivers really by the look of it. Into the first corner. See how loose the cars get, but it looks like the No Big Deal car has got the better run out of the first corner. Into Maggots and Beckett. We'll be side by side, but he gets the move done. But now will James Andrews fight back on the Porsche to just try and get himself up that position. It's not for points, but it is for pride. As James Andrews, yellow flag, he's gone round. Oh no, James Andrews has gone round. He hit the curb on the exit. Not what he would have wanted to see at all, especially with the pit window coming up as well. But that does not take away at all of the move that this man here, the 158 No Big Deal car, pulled off. He got the better exit out of turn 1 and then managed to cover it off through Maggots and Beckett's as well, which is, especially in these conditions, a very, very, what's the YouTube correct word? Brave move to make, I would say. I wouldn't have tried it, and I'm pretty sure a lot of us wouldn't have tried it with the track being how it is, but he made it work, so props to him for that one. As that he is now currently P4 in Platinum, but he has still got to pit in. Not too sure about if he's going to do it this lap or next lap. The track is still wet and the rain is still coming down, but we're close to what was forecast of the rain getting heavier as well. He goes quite a bit deep actually into Brooklands. It looked like the car just aquaplaned. So our top 3 runners on track pit in: Kovacs, Uthausen and Smith. So will Liet stay out as well? He does. He elects to stay out for another lap. As Pierre Moreno, oh, big slides, and the car goes on him there. Oh, what had happened there to Pierre? Let us have a look. So he's coming through. The car's just gone on him already. He tries to hold it, and then it goes. That was not what he would have wanted to see. Now, oh, you can see it's going again. Oh, it's gone out from under him once more as well. I think those tyres might be gone for the Frenchman, and that is, I'm sure, something that will be quite damaging, really, to the confidence. Because when you have one spin, it's a knock, but then when you have another one just after, that is a bigger knock as well. I think he's already made his pit stops. I think he's elected to go onto the wet tyres again. I don't think anyone's going to brave the dries. So we will have a see and a look at what happens. But now the battle for the lead of silver, as it currently stands, is between Jeroen Udderdorp, the 229 car piloted by the Dutchman racing for Pixel Chasers, against Benke, the 149 V12 Aston that just leaves down the straight. It just goes. And we've got a yellow flag. That's Baker stranded in not a great position, I don't think. Let's have a look what's happened with him. Oh, the car's just gone out from him in Brooklands, I think that is. He's stopped it round, let a couple cars go through by the hair of it, and then has just pushed it back around to get it started up again. And Thomas Jack is round. That is Thomas Jack round. What has happened there for Tom? We will have a look. So he's coming through. Keep in mind, his car's been very squirrely already this race. He's running the lowest TC that he thought he could get away with. And has he just punted the throttle a bit too early? No, so he's on full throttle. It's the curb. That would be something that I think Tom will be saying words that we would have to bleep in his native tongue. Is currently in the lead of the race is Chris Lips. However, he still has his pit stop to make. And he is basically being tailed now by Kovacs. So he's first on the road, but he isn't first overall with how strategy will play out. Drivers must take a tyre change, which takes 30 seconds in ACC World. They can elect to take fuel as well, but I'd say in this kind of race you would want the car to be heavier just to try and hold it down a bit more to the road. But now Thomas Jack is actually going to have to fight his way through Jurgens for a Cookie No Livery Racing Keck to get himself back up to still in 4th place of Platinum Class, but 4th place overall. So from pole position, Thomas Jack is now down in P5 overall, P4 in class, as Pierre Moreno's got himself a drive through. I'm not too sure what's happened there. Probably for track limits, I would say. As, round goes Huski there. Tries to get the car back round and puts it into the barrier. Thomas Jack has slowed, so was there contact between the two drivers? We're going to have a look. It's on the rear wing. We can just see here through the first corner of the F1 layout. Let us have a look up through. Oh, there was Thomas Jack just gently nudged the back of Huski there. That would not be what he wanted to see. Oh, but he did wait up. The yellow flag has been flown for Benke here. What's happened to the V12 Aston? Oh, Udadorp has just smacked up the rear end of him. Left him absolutely nowhere to go. That is going to be an expensive bumper replacement on the V12 Aston Martin there. That is what we call a punt, as Mark Dixon is off as well. What has happened to the Porsche driver? As we have a see here, we have a look, we have a feel, and he's coming up to the first corner as the car just aquaplaned from under him into the curb. It has on the brakes and just nosed it into the barrier. So this race has been a drive of attrition. I would say. Here's Matthew Barlow, just sort of driving his own race, really, and so too is Jakob Olsen for the Sky Tempesta car. James Andrews, however, chasing down the rear end of, I think that's Jacob Alacia just ahead. The Peach Tea sponsored Speedy Jake HD Mercedes, the 421 car in the colours of Home Depot, with a harp to the Peach Tea Project Ameliorite team, to run in the season of Project Amelia Wright. The Open Wheel Championship brought to us from Racing Pals as well. So a lot of races, a lot of racing series really being run for whatever your tastes are in racing games. We have the GTs here in RP series. We then have the open wheelers in ACC. Currently Skip Barber for people that are interested in the Skip Barbers. Very good platform for racing, used in the real world as a stepping stone to teach younger drivers about open wheel racing, but makes for some really good action when in the hands of our drivers here as well. There's Akil there, yellow flag for him. I'm not too sure what's happened. We're not going to have a look because we're going to jump to Pierre Moreno. Now chasing down the rear of Curtis. He is second to last in Platinum, P14 overall. So we will have a look at what happens, and we can see there Akil just on the outside, letting them go through nice and clean, nice and safe. In these conditions as well, you are basically putting it into, I think there might have been a bit of contact there, putting your faith into the lap cars to keep control more than anything else. I know from experience when being lapped, it's a nerve-wracking experience because now you haven't got to think about, oh, I'm going to lose a position. You've got to think about, how do I safely let him past without ruining either of our races, which is harder than it sounds, really. With 18 minutes left on the clock, all of our drivers, bar one, have pitted. I'm not sure. Is Max Leenham in the race at the minute? He is indeed. The 666 Optimum Motorsport car, currently running last in Platinum, 21st overall, and Nicholas there is in the pits as well, but I'm not 100% sure if he's going to be returning back out of the pit lane. He is indeed, so ignore what I've just said. What tyres has he gone on? That looked like the dry compound, so I'm not too sure if he's made a mistake with the compounds or if I'm just reading the tyres wrong. As far as I know, the wet compound doesn't have the Pirelli marketing on the side of it, but I could be wrong. I have been in the past, and I think for him I'd want to be wrong on this occasion as well. As this battle between James Andrews and Jacob Alacia is raging on, really, between the two drivers. Not a lot is separating them in terms of track. 4 tenths by the look of it. 4 to 5 tenths there in around that period. You can just see the spray off of the Peach Tea car. The Peace Tea car, sorry. That it does make it difficult to see where you're going and what you're doing. But now, down the straight, the two drivers. Let's see who comes out ahead here. Then we will have a look at the start of the race and get a view of what happens there. As well as the start of the race saw us have some quite big contact, really. So we'll stay with this battle for a little bit longer. Have a look. The gap now down to 2 tenths. Big snap there for James Andrews. And on the brakes, it looks like the McLaren is getting itself slowed down quickly, but it looks like it's having a harder time getting sped back up. As for anyone wondering about the lead gap, that's now to 11.5 seconds at the current time. So Kovacs, after he was more or less gifted the lead with that little collision between Robin Moe and Thomas Jack, he's now just built on that gap and built and built and built, which is obviously something you would have wanted to see, which is something he would have wanted to see. Now, let's have a look at the start of the race, shall we? At what happened. So this was race start. And we can see, you know, the car's getting ready and lining up. And then the lights went out. And it wouldn't show that just, so we won't have a look. But it was quite a big crash. Here we go. Let's have a look here. So we can see this was in turn 1, where cars were a bit everywhere. Same time, you can see Simon Big there had a collision further up too, which was not something he would have wanted to see. As Nicholas there, yellow flag for him. It looks like he's just gone off a bit. And now back to the battle we were wanting to see. James Andrews on Jacob Alacia. Now they are nose to tail. Are the two cars through Stowe, now down. We'll see, is James Andrews gonna be brave and dive down the inside at the chicane? He's not, but he is gonna try and close that gap up as much as humanly possible. But we'll stick with this for just a bit longer and have a look. Have a see. So, who is going to make that move stick? That is the big question. You can see it is just nose to tail. Leonas has got himself a drive-through. So, let us look here. Through Maggots and Beckett. So, let us see what is happening. 10 minutes just over left of today's race. is going to be one of those, I feel, where it's just a bit too tight to call, really. As further up the order, we've got Chris Liert for the No Big Deal, chasing down Benke, the V12 Aston Martin, through Stowe, but it looks like Liert has got a bit loose on the entry to Stowe, so that is not something that he would have wanted. Right, let us see here. He is chasing the rear end, however, it is just quite touchy, really. On the grip that you get. I mean, I'm trying to call it in my head, and I just can't. So, let us see and have a look. It's down the straight we come for another time. 7.5 minutes left of today's race. Now keep in mind, in GT racing, it is all based on if the leader crosses the finish line with 0 seconds left to go. So if Kovacs crosses the line with a second left, we're doing another lap. As we just saw there, James Andrews get ahead of Jacob Alacia, so that moves him up. I still just can't call really what's going to happen. I mean, we've seen how a big gap at the lead can disappear within moment. And here is your current leader of Silver Class, Jürgen Hazen, getting himself gapped out by Yemi Smith. There's a drive-through penalty, as pointed out by the chat, for Mike Benke. That's not going to be what he would have wanted to see, because that is going to help James Andrews catch up, because he is going to take some time to get up to speed. I'm not sure what this gap is going to make it up to. Looks to be just under 10 seconds, about 10 seconds between the two drivers, so it's not as bad as it could have been. However, it clearly does not help the V12 Aston at all. As a bit further up the order, we have Marlow on the back of Udador. Again, not for class position, for race position only. So really, I think these guys would want to go a bit lighter on each other, just so they're not taking each other out. I mean, P2 for Udador, P4 at the minute for Matthew Marlow. So, you know, there's nothing really to gain or lose between the two drivers. And then if Marlow gets up, he'd then have about a 10.5 second gap to catch up to Yamik Smith as well. So let's actually check back in with that battle. Yamik Smith and Jurgens Oosthuizen for Cookie No Livery Racing Keck. And it looks like Jurgen's got a bit of a worse exit out of the final corner, so that is not going to help him at all. So now we'll have a watch, we'll have a see. It looks like that Lamborghini is getting a bit skittish under him. We will see. Now we're going to jump back again to the fight between Marlow and Udador. You can see a big slide there from the Porsche. That's not going to help his gap at all. That was about 2 tenths and has now jumped up to 8 tenths. So you can see just how much a little slide costs you in the grand scheme of things. Like, even the smallest slide there can have massive implications. As in the chat, Earthquake has just said, driver of the day goes to Jurgens. I forgot to put up a driver of the day poll. So I think really the drivers of the day are those who have managed to keep the cars straight and keep the cars alive through this quite difficult set of circumstances. Oh, deep there goes Udador, but he is going to hold the inside line just by virtue of where he came back on. However, I think Marlow will have the better getaway, but I'm not sure. They are still side by side down to Brooklands. A little bit of rubbing between the two cars. Let's have a look. There is contact. Off goes Marlow. Off goes Udador as well. What has happened there between the two drivers? We need to know. As we see, have they just got into each other? They have. Udador just got into the rear end of Marlow. Off they both went. That, I think, is gonna be I'm not really sure how to say that really in a way that's appropriate for YouTube, but I'm sure they're not going to be happy. As that was the battle well and truly ended. Udador has jumped now to P7 overall. I'm not sure if that car's got a lot of damage. However, with only a minute and 15 left, it looks like we're going to get one more lap after this. As in the chat as well, Yamik's move was the overtake of the day. It really was. Like, I can't even complain about that. He opened the door up beautifully and got 2 in 1. And that was one of the biggest crashes we've seen this race so far. Both drivers just went flying off of each other. As now Martin Kovacs to start the final lap of the race. He got that lead early on and he has just built the gap. I was saying that the lead was gifted to him, but really with the pace he's shown today, he is a worthy driver of the top spot of the podium. And I'm pretty sure he'll agree when we drag him in for a chat later on as well. as the clock strikes 0, we will need to really have a standing ovation for Kovacs, the driver who had managed to fight his way through the wet weather after a pretty torrid first lap for him, and then has managed to make it work, really. And now across the line to take the victory at round 2 here at Silverstone. Comes through the line. Kovacs takes the win of Platinum class. And he'll soon be followed by Robin Moe taking P2 in Platinum as well. And that has been a really good drive for the Good Smile Racing car. Started P4 on the grid, has ended up P2, but someone that we should really mention for climbing the order from his qualifying position, as long as everything stays how it is at the minute. He's gone up 4 positions. Sorry, started P7 and is now in P3, and then really can't really say much more either about Jurgen's behind him, who started P11 and is now up in P4. I think out of everyone, he isn't the highest climbing of the day, but he is definitely climbing quite high up as he takes the victory in silver, also taking the victory in silver, and is the joint highest climbing driver today, who started 25th on the grid and finished 12th, is Curtis. But that is a very good race for him today, as we're now just waiting for the rest of the drivers to come across the line. We will pop them in for interviews. Obviously it is optional for the drivers, however, if people want to come in and have a chat with me, they very much can. And really, all I can say is what a race we have witnessed today. For your winner of Kovacs, I'm sure he'll be more than happy with his performance, having taken the victory. And now, let us have a quick look at the race results. We'll start with a platinum. So, winning the race was Kovacs, the 861 Porsche, followed by Robin Moe, Yamik Smith, Marlowe, Liet, Luanaz, Pierre Moreno, Mats Leenham, and Thomas Jack retired, and so too did Simon Beeg. And then in silver, your race winner in that class was Jurgens Oosthuizen from Cookie No Livery Racing Keck, followed by Uderdorp in second, Benke in third, James Andrews fourth, Jacob Alasia fifth, Toby Long in sixth, and Daniel Scott in seventh. And then in bronze, your winner for that class was Curtis in the number 90 Porsche, followed by Baker in the 58 BMW Dizon in the 31 Porsche, Schublem in the 951, Olsen in the number 6 McLaren, and Akil in the 29 Ferrari, and Nicholas Vangelo in the 21 McLaren. So we're gonna get in to the chat. Our winner of the overall race and the platinum category. Hello, Kovacs.
Oh.
What a race that was for you. What are your thoughts on it?
Oh, it was chaotic.
And I bet when you saw that contact between Robin and Tom, you were sat there like, thank you.
Yeah, I was like, yes. Oh.
And,
to be fair,
yeah,
I did spawn at the first corner, so I had to make up my way up the field.
And speaking of that, how were the conditions on the circuit today for you? How was the Porsche in the flooded conditions of Silverstone?
Oh, it was a death trap. I had to have a high TC to survive.
Ooh. And looking towards the rest of the season, the next race being, I believe, Mount Panorama. How are you feeling for that one?
To be fair, I'm gonna change cars. I'm gonna change to the Honda.
Oh, exclusive scoop.
So we'll see how it goes.
Fair enough. Well, thank you for the time. Congratulations on the race win. And we'll probably end up seeing you in here again over the season.
Yeah, hope so.
Right on. Have a good night, mate.
Thank you.
So that was Kovacs, the overall race winner and the winner of Platinum Class. We're now going to get in the man whose name I can never pronounce correctly.
So
hello, Cookie.
Hello, how's it going?
It's going pretty well. I mean, I want to know how it's going for you. You know, you started out, I think, 7th on the grid and ended up P4 overall and winning your class at the same time. How do you feel about that?
That was pretty hype. It was a lot of fun. The start was, I don't know if you heard from Kovacs, but the start was just impossible. I don't know if you were using a helicam or something, but we literally could not see. Like, coming to the grid, I was on the inside line. I was coming to the grid. I had no clue where the corner was. I was just looking at the guy in front of me and waiting for him to brake. But yeah, the start was good. I started P11. I did accidentally nudge someone, so I'll have to put a ticket in for that. But overall, it was good. Got some fun racing with Jameek. And yeah, just the conditions being this sketch mean that you're never bored when you're driving by yourself because the car is always doing something under you. So you're like, it's not like just kind of slightly more dry laps in both the sense of the weather and the word. But yeah, it was good.
And speaking of the car, now I've not driven the Lamborghini in a while, but the last time I drove it, it was a car that basically always wanted to go into the barrier. How is it in the wet?
I imagine you drove the older Lamborghini. The new one is really easy to tell apart because it's got the big old like hump on the back. This one, I picked the Lambo, I think, 2 seasons ago or 1 season ago, whenever I last drove in ACC, because I enjoyed it in the dry, like it clicked with me. It's surprisingly good in the wet. In the normal wet conditions that we had in quali and stuff, I was just running like the normal dry TC and it was fine. For flooded, I jacked it up, but it's got enough electronics to keep you safe in the wet. So that's a positive in my end.
And the final question I'm sure the entire chat is wanting to know.
Yes.
Will Cookie No Livery Racing Keck become Cookie Has a Livery Racing Keck at some point?
Probably never, because I'm too lazy to make one and it's too funny to change it. Plus, I like my signature green, so it's just easier to make the car green and drive it like that. I can see it in the streams better as well.
Fair enough. Well, Cookie, congratulations on the class win. Who knows? Might see you in here more often.
Hopefully. As long as I'm not off traveling the country, and by that I mean going home. Thank you very much for the stream. I hope you enjoyed it. And yeah, good luck with the rest of the interviews.
Thank you. Have a good night, mate.
Thank you.
And now, the final driver, last but not least, our winner of the bronze class. Hello, Curtis.
Hello, hello.
How was the race for you? I mean, I know the flooded conditions, they are difficult. How was it?
Yeah, I was just trying to play it safe, and to be honest, it was kind of boring. I felt like I was out there by myself for the entire race. I didn't really get to race against anyone, but yeah, actually, I mean, I got pretty lucky there in the last 3 laps. Schoblom was ahead of me by a good 10 seconds, and he got taken out, so that was unfortunate for him. But he was definitely putting up some good times. I couldn't catch up to him.
And a question that I've been asking everyone, how was your car in these conditions? I know these cars aren't really built for the flooded track, so how was it?
I haven't spent a whole lot of time at Silverstone, but I definitely put some practice in, mostly in the wet, over the past couple of weeks. And so it felt okay. I mean, definitely not as fast as in the dry, obviously, but it was manageable.
And looking forward to the rest of the season. Next round being at Mount Panorama. Is that a track you know well, or is it one where you're going to have to start from the bottom and build up through it?
I haven't raced it in a while, but when I was learning it, I spent a lot of time there, and I'm really looking forward to the next race for sure.
Awesome. Well, thank you for coming to talk to me. Congratulations on the class win. Who knows, might see you in here more often.
All right, man. Take it easy.
You too. Have a good night. And someone that has been waiting in the waiting room, who I will drag in for a chat, because I want to hear about this. Hello.
Hi.
I just wanted to ask, because I think when I was looking on my time tower, from what I could see, you climbed the most positions in the race out of everybody. How was the race?
It was terrible. I hated every second of that race. It was it was so unfun. Oh man, yeah. I get P29. I think I started because I didn't qualify, and then I just scrapped the whole setup because it was bad and got a new one like before the race. And yeah, I went to P14.
The BMW really is quite a big car, so you'd expect it to be you know, pretty good in the wet. How was it in the wet?
I mean, I couldn't get the setup where I liked it. It was just oversteery and understeery at the same time. I mean, that's probably just part of the rain aspect of the whole race, but it was not very fun to drive.
Mm-hmm. And looking forward to the rest of the season. Mount Panorama.
Yeah, I am.
How do you fit? You're the first person that's ever replied with that to me. How are you feeling about the next round at Mount Panorama?
I'm very scared because I have a giant car, so I don't know what's gonna happen. I take up the entire width of the road in this car, so it's gonna be hard to get by me, but it's gonna be hard for me to get by anyone. We'll see. I don't know why I chose the BMW. Yeah, I don't know. I wanted to do the Lexus because it has the BOP minus 40 kg at every track, but I guess I just got stuck with the BMW, and I'm just gonna stick it out.
Fair enough. Well, congratulations on the second place in class. Who knows? Might be seeing you in here on the top step of the podium at some point.
I'm hoping so. As long as there's no more rain, you can expect to see me challenging for the class win.
Have a good night, mate. Congratulations on the second place.
All right, thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye. And that was Baker, the 58 BMW, finished second in class. And now we're going to do our regular shout-out of the next events. The big headline event that I'm sure a lot of people are going to be looking forward to. RP Endurance returns to our screens and to our games with the 4 hours of Monza, GT3 and GT4. solo drivers or teams of 2 accepted on Saturday, December the 2nd at 4 p.m. GMT. And we also have next week the Skip Barber Trophy at Beaconecki, which will be hosted by Deep Cuts for his in-car stream. The Skip Barbers being a car that gave us a lot of racing, a lot of action, and a lot of enjoyment over the years. And we've brought them back for what we feel is a last send-off, the greatest tracks we had driven in that series. And it's a very fitting way to see those cars off. And then last but not least, a big shout out to our Patreon community, to our patrons who donate to Racing Pals to keep the racing going, to keep the servers up, to keep all of us doing what we love, which is racing virtual cars. We have Jacob, Deep Cuts, Robin Molling, Alvin Yakitori, Suicidal Cookie, Milt, Alexander Gorbachev, I'm Jay Gott, and PM Moreno. So thank you for them for keeping Racing Pals servers going and keeping us doing what we love. Until next time though, I have been Huski. Thank you very much for watching the Racing Pals RP Series Round 2 at Silverstone. And until next time, goodbye.